Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are discussing 4 more chapters of Words of Radiance. We read chapter 21 through chapter 24, wherein we see the aftermath of the battle that Shallan convinced people to help in, and we lost a dear friend or something. Then Kaladin tells Dalinar what happened. I think a lot of stuff happens in that chapter. That's the biggest point for me, where Kaladin tells Dalinar about Amaram. And then in Assassin, the chapter Assassin, Seth does not show up. I don't think we had discussed last time. I'm not sure anyone was actually expecting Seth, but somebody tries to kill the king. Maybe it was Seth. I mean, we didn't see who it was. So. And then finally, Shallan kind of makes friends with the leader of the guards of the new caravan that they met, who we met briefly last time. So some interesting stuff this time. I'm Data, and with me today is
Joe,
Jamie,
and Dak.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, 4 chapters, 4 I think pretty interesting chapters this time, and Joe is back after being gone for work stuff. So Joe, if you want to hit on what you thought about last time's chapters too, feel free. But what did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
So yeah, I'll start kind of, I guess, back from last week, since I didn't get to cover that. It was kind of nice to kind of read a chunk instead of, which, I mean, I didn't read it back to back, but like knowing, I don't have to talk about this, and then I'm going to read about it and read some more. And so I had a kind of a different experience than you guys had, because I got to kind of just experience it. But yeah, the Shallan stuff, like, it just keeps getting stranger and stranger, I feel like. Which, we know she has these powers, but I guess like her powers have some kind of illusion properties because she made them see her as something else. So that'll be interesting to kind of figure out how all that works. And yeah, the stuff with Kaladin, he's bodyguarding. He's getting beat up by Adolin because he gets mad. I feel like he's losing control a little bit, and I think he addresses it, right? He says like what he's really upset about is Amaram, right? And then in this section this week, we actually get him telling Dalinar, which I don't know about you guys. I don't think I expected him to just like lay it all out like he did. So it was kind of interesting for him to be like, yeah, I need you to know that this happened. And so this guy betrayed his men. He killed all of my friends, and he took shard stuff for me because I didn't want it. And that's where I am with this guy. And, not surprising to us. I don't think Dalinar doesn't immediately just be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I'll make it right for you. Like, he's like, well, I don't know about that. But by that same token, at the end of the reading for that part of the world, we also see him ask Kaladin, like, are you someone I could trust? And he's like, yeah, you can. And so maybe there's some good coming out of that. Maybe he's going to trust Kaladin enough to believe Kaladin, which is, definitely a good thing. And so we'll see, I guess, what happens. The Shallan stuff, like, I don't know, this con lady coming in right at the end, it seems like bad news to me. So I don't really know what we should expect from that, but it doesn't seem like, it just seems like bad news. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got.
She does seem a little bit bad newsy, doesn't she?
Yeah. I don't see it ending well, like this supposed partnership.
I guess we will have to see. Yeah, it's and the way that it ends, even Shallan's like, yes, I think there is stuff I could learn from you, basically. And so
yeah, not a great conclusion in my opinion.
I was gonna say maybe she could pick up some useful things from her, but I kind of agree that it seems unlikely to end well, even if she does manage to get something useful out of it along the way.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to start kind of at the back end of the chapters, because that's where we are right now. I think that she has to stay sort of close to Is it tin? Time? How we
I
pronounce
usually
it?
think of it as tin, but I mean, however you want to, I guess.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with tin. You're presented with someone who, is like pretty out there and going, yeah, like I'm a con person and you are too, and like let me in on this. If she was to turn around and go, well, I'm actually betrothed to the son of Dalinar Colin, like I don't think that would go particularly well for Shallan either. So she's kind of best to blend in as much as she can at the moment. And so she can learn things and get information, and maybe she will learn something about the structure. Like she's already looking through her books about the high princes, and maybe she, like Tin, knows something that will actually help her. So I'm interested to see where that relationship goes. But yeah, like Shallan can't just come out and say who she is and what she's doing. It's not going to work. So I didn't see that going there. It seems just like a big band of misfits of everyone pretending to be someone they're not. So that will be interesting to see how that works out. And it sounds like they're getting pretty close to the Shattered Plains as well. So hopefully it won't be that much longer before we start to see some things there. I started thinking Gaz was actually like not a terrible person. He seems to be like, I feel like in another life, he probably wasn't that bad. He just wasn't great with Kaladin. Like, he was pretty awful. Let's be honest. No one liked the Gaz we already knew, but I'm hoping there is kind of a redeeming side to him. This Gaz I like a lot better. Going backwards, the stuff with Kaladin, yeah, I was surprised he came just right out and told Dalinar what he told him about Amaram. That's a big call when this guy has come in and he's like, oh, my old friend Amaram. Like, oh, okay. But I think it goes to show who Dalinar is as a person. Of like, at least he heard him out. He could have just gone, stop talking shit about my friend and walk away. Like, he can't just believe everything Kaladin says without, like, he's right. There's no evidence for it. And someone who wanted to infiltrate and lie and, in Kaladin's position, that would be a fantastic position to play someone from. So I think it probably went the best way that it could have. And Kaladin just has to keep sort of proving himself more than proving Amaram is not a nice individual. So I hope that goes well for him. But he's also holding his head up high and he's going to continue doing the right things, which pretty much all it takes is for Amaram to be caught out in a lie or something like that. And Dalinar might change his perspective fairly quickly. The assassination attempt on the king. Yeah, let's see what happens there. Kind of a strange way to do it. They could have done it any time as well, so that's concerning, especially if it is someone inside. All of a sudden you need to start accounting for shard blades, which we seem to kind of do in that chapter as well, going through the list of who Adolin was going to fight. Of course no one wants to fight him. They're going to take his blade and his plate, and no one's willing to sacrifice that, at the moment. So yeah, that'll be one to watch. I'm not sure how they're going to like muster up everyone to eventually duel him. They just need to set up like a tournament, I reckon, and you don't always start with Adolin, but all roads lead to Adolin. I don't know. Let them destroy one another. But, Dalinar has a point. We've actually got something to accomplish here. It's not just about fighting and proving you're a good fighter. So that will be interesting as well. Shallan, otherwise, yeah, she's kind of just still doing her thing to get there. I think the most interesting part of her chapters this week was her introduction, talking to Tin and the many faces of Shallan that she's having to be at the moment. Yeah. Otherwise, good chapters. Keep on moving through.
Okay, so I like the way you went kind of backwards with it. You got a point about Adolin is although we talked about it, it's like he hadn't been allowed to duel for a while, so now all of a sudden he thinks like it'll be easy, but yeah, nobody wants to duel him, and we know he's really super good, so that is a good reason. But yeah, it's a shame he can't get those duels he wants. The name Tin, I've heard some people say that it's a little too close to Tien. And so they start to get confused in the audiobook when they're talking about Tin. It's like, wait, Tien's here? When did that happen? Isn't he dead? So maybe the name is supposed to be said similar to that. I don't know.
That's okay. We'll go with Tin. Tien's not around, unfortunately.
No, not really. Unless it turns out Tien faked his death somehow, then I don't think we're going to be seeing him anytime soon.
Yeah.
That would be something. Kaladin discovers that his brother faked his death. That would...
Secret bad guy.
I'd be so
Tien's
mad
the
if I was
secret
Paladin.
bad guy. Oh my gosh. I guess that'd be the exact same storyline from Era 2 of Mistborn with Wax's sister. So
It absolutely would, yeah.
oh man.
Mistborn did it.
Mistborn's done a lot of stuff.
Sure. Duffman says a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
That brown patch needs a little H2O. Oh, yeah.
But and I like that you're warming to Gaz, even if just a little bit. You're like, maybe he's not quite so bad. That's he's nicer to Shallan than he was to Kaladin, but I mean she's a Light Eyes, so maybe that's got something to do with it.
Yeah, I
Well,
completely
that's it.
skipped over Gaz's comeback. I feel bad.
The funny thing is, somebody don't Dak, you missed an opportunity. Like the episode that we recorded last time hasn't come out yet, so we haven't seen the. As of our recording, they haven't heard our re-meeting with Gaz. But somebody in the there was a conversation, I think today, maybe yesterday, in the Discord where they're like, Dak's gonna be pissed at Gaz coming back, and then some guy goes, I'm expecting to hear a fucking Gary when he pops back up.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you missed it.
Yeah, I missed it. Oh, well.
But yeah, maybe he'll grow on us now that he's not in debt and Kaladin's boss anymore. Maybe Kaladin will see him and just imprison him. I don't know that he get away with that, but maybe.
No, I like the idea that there'll be some cataclysmic battle or whatever the Parshendi are up to, or if they summon this storm like I've been predicting, and like right at the last second, like Kaladin's looking around the Shadow Plains for survivors, and he sees Gaz just stumble off into a cavern and fall to his death, and Kaladin goes, "Was that Gaz?"
That's the first time he sees him. He's like, I haven't seen that guy in forever. Oh well.
This is very much the oh no. Anyway,
so Jamie, you specifically brought up last time, like Shallan might have some problems meeting her what she's promised to do for these guys, and now we see that these promises have taken her pretty far. Like they're doing stuff for her and being real nice, and so I don't know. Do you think that how do you think that's going to go when we get there? It's a little early for predictions, but I'm curious what you think now while we're talking about it.
I mean, look, she's gonna get back to the Shattered Plains. If she makes it through to Navani, she gives certain information. Like obviously, Yasna didn't make it. There is definitely a potential here that she could actually be able to follow through on her word, but it's a pretty big gamble. Like she could also get there and, Navani's so heartbroken and doesn't want Shallan around, and, she's back to being, the lady of a pretty minor house and has no power or standing. And then these guys who've deserted, they're going, well, I don't really care what you say about them. They're deserters and that's it. It could go either way. But the fact that she's still got that kind of in her pocket, like no one knows. They're all kind of like, oh, she's a lady of high standing or whatever. But even I can't remember which one. I think it was the leader of the deserters. He was like, you look different. Like you look like a queen, and now you look just like a child.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me reckons they're probably not even going to buy it. And even Gaz said himself, look, if they go back and, execute me and stuff, he goes, well, at least I'm not out here wondering if they're going to ever find me. So it sounds like it's something they've kind of just made their peace with. Like if it comes off, great. But for them, it's a bit of a gamble too. But it could go either way. I hope that she is able to make good on her word, because that would be nice and probably confidence boosting for her too. And go, you project who you are as this person, and like that works. I think it would be interesting if their debts were kind of forgiven, or then like it was flipped on them and they went into like slavery or something. And I think it would just be sort of poetic justice if Gaz ended up in Kaladin's army or something.
Oh.
Just like I don't think Kaladin would go for it, but it would be interesting. I don't think they're going to walk back in and have absolutely no repercussions whatsoever. Like their debts might be forgiven, but deserting, I don't know how easily that could be forgiven.
And imagine Gaz being like, "Can I join Bridge 4?" I mean, we found out that in this section it's not all that hard.
True.
I think Kaladin looks at him and is like, fine, but you report to the officer I determine. Okay, who's it going to be? Rock? Teft? No. You answer to him. And he looks over and Shen is standing there just like, ooh.
Shen, here's your new serving boy. Enjoy.
So yeah, fun chapters. Yeah, it's like there's a whole. Gaz seems like a poor downtrodden son of a bitch, and then I realized that's largely of his own making. So, and the other guy that they were talking to was very much the same. He's talking about how he's had such a rough trot in life, and the other guy, I think his name was Red, was just like don't forget how you were in debt to like every man on the Shattered Plains. So that's on you, buddy. But yeah, this Tin lady, she seems like bad news. I agree with the others. It seems like Shallan, I think you're replacing Yasna as your mentor with someone that you really shouldn't be right now. I did have a moment of wondering. It's like, is this? I wonder if this lady is like flipping back through the book to the prologue. Liz, Yasna's contact in the prologue.
Oh, the assassin.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder if like I have nothing to base this on just other than gut feeling, but I'm like, oh, I wonder if you're the same person because I feel like that assassin will have to show up again at some point in the book, but we will see. Beyond that, like fairly cool chapters. I love how it just really seems like Elhokar just loves Kaladin because Kaladin is as paranoid as he is.
Yeah.
Like I want more of this. Elhokar's just like I want Kaladin protecting me at all times. And Kaladin's like, can I not? That'd be a great buddy comedy sort of movie.
The Kaladin Elhokar show. Okay, yeah, that would be interesting. All right.
Yeah. I just want to see it. Like Elhokar's constantly dragging Kaladin around. It's like, you see, they could kill me this way, and Kaladin's begrudgingly like, okay, yep, you've got a point there. I will keep an eye on that. And other than that, he's just like, I just want to leave. This guy's exhausting. But yeah, like the bit where he told Dalinar about Amaram, I was glad that it happened because I had a feeling this was gonna drag out all book. So I like that it happened, and I think it came off pretty realistically. Dalinar's not saying like, I don't believe you, you're full of shit. You're full of crap, Fry.
Make a persuasive argument, Fry. He's not saying that either, so.
No, but I think Dalinar is doing what is reasonable in this situation. It's like, okay, that's a pretty serious accusations against a dude that I feel I know pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I need some evidence, man. I can't just take word alone on this. And yeah, like I think that's reasonable, but I understand Kaladin's frustration at not being believed because like this is because he has such a problem with Amaram. The guy literally ruined his life.
Mm-hmm.
So like I get it. I can see both sides of this, and I think it was a well written scene. I was like, well, that went about as well as we could have expected, really.
You're probably right. Yeah.
In all sense of reason and fairness. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Oh, and Bluff died. Like, well, there goes that theory.
Oh no, Naz! Why?
Yeah. Especially because it's like, Shallan drew that picture, and it's like, oh, he looks so noble and bold and he's dead.
But he was inspired by the picture to be more than he was.
Yeah. It's like, oh god, like we lost Bluff, but we kept Crazy Vaclav. Why?
Well, because he wasn't about to go off and fight, obviously.
Yeah. But he's the Gaz of this group. And now the Gaz is actually in the group. I'm like, well, there's not enough room for two Gazes.
I was about to say, Gaz is here. How could he be the Gaz? Yeah.
Yeah. We have an excess surplus of Gazes. Frankly, one is too many.
We'll probably get rid of one or two of them. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, no, solid chapters, but I do feel like, all right, I'm ready for some action to happen. I'm ready for Seth to show up. Like I said, we don't know when that's going to happen, but after such a heavy focus on him in the first book, it seems weird that he hasn't shown up at all so far. Like, all right, I want my boy back.
You're my boy, Seth.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe we'll see him sometime. He's just not going to show up at all this book. It turns out that he got lost on the way to find Dalinar.
That would make this note on the back of the book, "The assassin has arrived," pretty fucking annoying.
That'll be the very last page of the book. Seth's like, oh, finally, I made it. You guys have no idea how hard it is to find this place.
Oh no, like the first book ended with the herald kicking in the door and stumbling to Wit's feet. The second book's going to do that with Seth.
Yeah, maybe.
And Wit, like he just kicks in the door and Wit's just standing there. It's like, hey man.
Does every one of these books end with Wit unexpectedly running into somebody? That'd be hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into these chapters. The first one is Ashes and the Demon's Dead, form of lies and desolation. So apparently meditation form when used by the gods is bad.
Does it say meditation form in yours? It says mediation form in ours.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. Mediation form. I just read it completely wrong. Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't sound right. Did I read the right thing?
So when used by the gods, it becomes evil mediator instead of good mediator, I guess. But we start right off with Bluff is dead. Shalon is closing his eyes, trying not to look at the entrails hanging out of the hole in his torso. So there's that. And while people are treating the wounded, Vatha, leader of the bandits she recruited, is executing the other bandit group one by one.
Yeah, this guy seems like he was the one who wasn't buying into Shallan's crap,
Yep.
wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna be trouble.
It does seem that way, yeah.
In fact, she says that, and Pattern's like, going to be trouble?
Yep.
I had forgotten about that. Good call.
And Shalon finds the drawing that she made of Bluff, the one where he looks like a hero, in the pocket of his jacket. Which there was a very brief moment, I think in the last section, where she realized there was a page missing from her sketchbook. It had been ripped out, but she didn't have time to look at which one it was. So there's the lead up to Bluff stole a page. And then she's like, I was wrong. You were a fine way to restart my collection. We can think good thoughts about him now. He's dead. It's fine. And like we met the guy with the golden hair briefly when they first ran into Tin, and he's dead now too. So whatever his deal was, we will never know.
Damn it.
And the guy leading the caravan comes up to talk to Shalon. And she's like, oh my gosh. Or he's like, yeah, the winds themselves cannot speak of your majesty or the wonder of your timely arrival. And he's very thankful for having their lives saved. And Tin has been telling the guy about what Shalon said to him, because if you recall, Shalon was like, I will offer to take you under my protection. And Tin was like, yeah, whatever. I guess you can come down and die with us if you want. But now that Shalon recruited these mercenaries, it looks more like that was a threat. Like, either you team up with me or else. And Shalon's like, the mercenaries didn't work for me before. They do now. It took some persuasion. And Tin is impressed by this. And Shalon's like, all I want is for you guys to let me accompany you to the Shattered Plains. The guy's like, I mean, you have a bunch of soldiers. You don't need our help. And she's thinking, well, I need you here to remind these soldiers what they did. I don't want them off on their own with me thinking about, like, what they might get out of it. And so they make a deal. In gratitude for saving my life, I will see you cared for with new apparel and fine foodstuffs for the duration of our travels. Then we part, nothing more owed. He's like, yep, that works. I shall allow you to join me, your caravan, unto mine. And he's like, your caravan, under your authority, I assume. And she's like, yeah. And what about the 2 wagons with Tavlakov and Tag? And she's like, oh, those are also mine. Like, we'll keep them at the back. Slavery is gross, and then they're smelly.
They stink of kerosene.
And so here's where
Vaclav is good for.
Yeah, it's true. Just a kerosene joke, nothing else. Vatha comes up, and this is where he seems like he's going to be trouble. He's like, I lost some of my men. You don't look like you did before. I saw a queen in the darkness. Now I see a child. And he's like, my men have done worse than this. You think one night absolves us? You think one night will stop the nightmares?
This guy should be in a metal band for sure.
And he grabs her, and it seems like this might turn bad until Pattern says, you should let her go. And he spins around. He's like, what the hell is that? But Pattern's on the back of his uniform coat, so he can't see him. Like, who said that? And Shalon's like, I didn't hear anything. You should let her go. And he takes off, like, freaking out, which is hilarious. It's just like, make him think he's crazy. How's that going to help? But it did.
I'll say this for the guy. He does seem like he's honest. Like, he never pretended to be on board with Shallan's stuff before, and now he's, like, just pissed and furious. He's like, yeah, you know what you're going to get from the guy, at least. He's not deceptive.
True. He is upfront and an asshole. So
yeah.
Shallan, on the other hand, doing some deceptive stuff, but it works out for her.
Well, she's not trying to get anyone killed through deceptive stuff.
True. And then that's when Crazy Vaclav shows up. And he thinks that this was all some sort of plan that she was in on. Bluff, like, made a deal with the bandits, and somehow she was in on that. But the more you think about it, the more that makes absolutely no sense. So, and Shallan's like, oh, by the way, your slaves are mine now. I saved your life. You will give me these slaves in payment for my soldiers protecting you. Which, you forced him to come this way. He wasn't going to come this way. So I don't know that you saving him from danger you led him into is worth as much as you feel like it is.
Oh, it's worth it.
And he says, this is wrong. Well, I mean, Yeah, it works for her. I'm just saying, it seems kind of mean, honestly. Then again, it's taking slaves so she can free them. So I guess maybe it's okay. We don't care how mean you are to slavers. He says this is robbery, and she says this is justice. If it bothers you, submit a grievance with the king on the Shattered Plains. He's like, I'm not going there. You've got somebody else to take you. I'm going where I planned on going in the first place. And she's like, okay, but you're going to leave the slaves, and you're going to give me the official writs of slavery. Stormfather help you if not everything is in order. I'm very good at spotting a forgery. Which seems like a ridiculous thing to just pop out with. Like, obviously, I would know. But I guess it works.
Well, I mean, is that something Patton could do? He could look at the piece of paper and go, lie.
Oh, maybe. Interesting point. And so she's got some slaves now. 5 slaves. Shaggy, bearded, and shirtless. And she goes, you guys can run off if you want, but I need some servants and I'll pay you well. 6 fire marks a week as long as you agree to put 5 towards paying down your slave debt. If you don't, you just get 1. You guys like the same amount either way is what we pocket? How does that make sense?
It makes the best kind of sense. That's what she says.
She does. The best kind of correct, technically.
Yeah, you are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
But you're finished with 3 seconds to spare, so I'm demoting you. A good bureaucrat never finishes early. So then she says, oh, by the way, you have more wagons than you have drivers, Crazy Vaclav. Why don't you sell me one of them? And he's like, why not just steal that from me too? She's like, stop being a child. You want money or not? And he sells it to her begrudgingly. You can't have my parchment. And she's like, yeah, you can keep those. I don't want them.
They freak me out.
And then she realized the people of the caravan, like including women and children and everybody, is gathered around as they're burning the bodies. And the deserters, the bandits, turn around and see all these thankful people who are like, like, you saved us. You're amazing. And it makes them it says she leaves them standing taller. Her plan is working. And then we get a page from a folio of contemporary male fashion. And it's not signed by Naz, but the handwriting looks the same to me. So I'm pretty sure this is a Naz thing. A page from a folio of fashion. The model should be noted as Lethe, and the folio is intended for sale in Lethe and vetted markets. So, and I think we see Adolin reading one of these in the next chapter. So I guess that's what this is about. Got to keep up to date on the latest fashion trends. It's very important.
He wants to look good for his new wife.
There you go.
When he's finally allowed not to wear his uniform all the time.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Can
right?
invest. Yeah.
He's got to find the good clothes that don't rumple under his shard plate. It's like he comes back from the battle, he just takes the shard plate off, and he's just like, and I still look fabulous.
He does have to wear his uniform all the time. I wonder if he still buys these nice clothes that he'd like to wear just in case the opportunity comes up.
Never know when you get to wear some sweet duds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like for the audience out there, where I was talking to them beforehand about the World Hopper Ball happening at the Dragonsteel Nexus this year. I'm going to try to make it to that, and I'm going to maybe get a new suit. Wear something fancy.
Buy me a shirt from there too, please.
From where I get my suit made?
No, from the con.
The ball? Okay.
Oh, from the con. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I'm collecting them. I got year 1, year 2, and year 3, so I need the next one.
Oh, did you? Wow. We only went the one time. So.
Yeah, we went the one time, and they sold the first year's there. So I got both of them.
Okay.
And then this last time they were sold out online after the con, but I guess they got some more or found some more because then nice. I was able to get one.
I thought about collecting the pins from the various years, even when I didn't make it. But I was like, you know what? No, I think I'll keep that as a thing that when I go, I'll get the one. But I've got a lot of Cosmere pins on my pin board now, which you guys can see on our Instagram because I posted it there. For this chapter, the epigraph is about Stormform, which we know the Parshendi are after rediscovering. Stormform is said to cause a tempest of winds and showers. Beware its powers, beware its powers. Though its coming brings the gods their night, it obliges a blood-red spren. Beware its end, beware its end. So this is actually from a new song. Up till now, we'd been getting bits from the listener song of Listing. This is from the listener song of Winds.
Didn't
for whatever
that.
that's worth. Yeah.
I did pick up on that, and I read it, and I went, hang on, I thought it was all from that song, and I went back through, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't understand the significance yet, but there you go.
Yeah. There's some significance, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's no significance. Who knows?
It's Brandon just messing with everyone.
It could be.
That is what he does.
So Kaladin is keeping guard over the Kholin family, including the 2 sons and the king, all in the king's palace in the middle of a high storm. Lightning is flashing outside. The storm is raging. And Adolin is flipping through some pages of sketches in some sort of book. And Kaladin, like, basically kind of sneaks over. He wants to see what Adolin is looking at. And that's the what starts the conversation here in a minute. But as Dalinar said, Bridge 4 has begun taking shifts with the King's Guard so they can learn more about bodyguarding, but also gradually start protecting the king a little more. And there's no fire in the fireplace. It is one of these heating fabrials that I think we've seen once or twice. And he pretends to want to examine it so that he can see what Adolin is doing. Meanwhile, Renarin is sitting near the thing, and he's like fiddling with a little box, like opening and closing it. And Renarin explains, like, oh yeah, this heating fabrial is a new technology. My aunt built that one herself. Every time I turn around, it seems the world has changed. And Kaladin's like, yeah, I know what that's like. And that's when he spots that Adolin is looking through a fashion folio. And he's like, you're spending the high storm looking for clothes, but you only wear uniforms. And Adolin's like, do you need to be here, Bridge Boy? Surely no one's going to come for us during a high storm of all things. Still calling him Bridge Boy. Being kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Kaladin counters that the fact that you assume no one would try to assassinate you during a high storm is exactly why I need to be here. Because that's when I would try to assassinate someone. The winds would cover shouts and slow help incoming. And the king's like, oh my gosh, that makes complete sense. Why has no one ever explained that to me before?
And Adelin's like, oh God, don't encourage him.
And the king's head bodyguard is named Idrin, and he's like standing nearby also. And the king like glares at him like, why didn't you tell me about this? That high storms are loud.
Yeah. How am I supposed to know what they are? I'm the king. I've got other things to think about, like, kinging.
Yeah. Too much important royal things going on in my head. I can't keep track of everything.
Right.
Kaladin remembers briefly the giant face he saw during the storm that one time. It's like, was that the Stormfather? I don't know. The storm passes. Dalinar comes out, and Kaladin requests that everyone stay in the room for just a little bit so they can make sure everything's cool in the wake of the high storm. Dalinar says this vision was a repeat, but they're not coming in the same order as last time, and some of them are new. So he's still getting some new visions, and even some new information in the visions that he's already had, maybe. So, and then they start talking to Adolin about the duels, and nobody wants to duel him. Apparently, Sadeas's army only has one shard bearer other than Sadeas, and that's Amaram. And Dalinar's like, well, we're not dueling him. He thinks he might be able to convince Amaram to secede from Sadeas's princedom and come over to the Kholin princedom. And I like, Kaladin's like, wait, is that possible? And everyone kind of turns and stares at him. And Navani, it says, blinks as if she had not noticed him there before. And Dalinar's like, yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like, it's complicated, and he kind of explains how it works when this sort of thing happens. But it does happen sometimes. But apparently Amaram wants to try to get Dalinar and Sadeas working together again.
Did you not hear what fucking happened?
Yeah. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know what Amaram's motivation is in a lot of this, to be honest with you. So maybe he has a reason for coming at it this way. And so they also realize that the approach they've been taking, where Adolin's just trying to fight whoever will fight him, that's not as directed as they want it to be. So let's see if we can figure out how to progress us toward our goal. And Adolin's pissy, and he's like, can we go now? Kaladin's like, yeah, fine. Moash is guarding outside, and he's like, Moash, you've been on duty too much. You need to go get some rest. He's like, well, I mean, I gotta do these double shifts if you want me to learn from the King's Guard while still protecting people. And so Kaladin and Moash agree that after this shift is over, they'll both go back and get some rest. And Kaladin says, hey, sir, Dalinar, there's something I want to talk to you about. And Dalinar's like, okay, can I wait till I'm done with what I'm doing? He's like, yeah, it's fine. Which I like that approach to it. He's like, okay, is it urgent? If so, I'll stop and talk to you. If not, then let me finish this and then we'll talk. Like, it's very good leadership things that he does, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so Dalinar comes out and he's like, okay, what do you want to talk to me about? And Kaladin basically lays out what happened with Amaram. At first he's like, Amaram betrayed me and my men. And Dalinar's like, oh, that's where you learn to be a soldier in Amaram's army. I should have guessed. Amaram's the only general in the whole princedom of Sadeas that has any real leadership ability.
Making it worse.
This isn't how I wanted this conversation to go.
You've sort of missed my point, man. This is really what I wanted to talk to you about.
And Dalinar thinks that it's like, oh, he made a bad battle decision and it got your men killed. I mean, I understand. Like, people get upset about that. And Kaladin has to be like, no. Let me explain. And he lays out what happened. And Dalinar's like, wow, okay. Amram is one of the best men I've ever known. I can't believe that he would do something like that. Do you have proof? You understand? I can't take one man's word on something like this serious. And Cal's like, one dark-eyed man's word, you mean? He's like, no, this is a very severe accusation against a very like high-level guy. Just you speaking these words is dangerous. Do you have proof? And Cal's like, I mean, there were other people there, but they were all kind of complicit. Maybe they could. And Dalinar says, okay, I'm going to talk to him. Don't talk about this to anyone else. Thank you for telling me. And Kaladin tries to argue further, and he's like, look, that's enough for now. You've had your say, but unless you can give me like evidence, then let me look into this.
Yeah, it's like Dalinar handles this as best he can.
Yeah.
It's like he even just says, it's like, don't give me that, like, it's because I'm a dark eye shit. It's not about that. It's because, like, what you're saying is pretty fucking severe.
Yeah. And Kaladin really wants to jump to making it about that, but on some level, I think, because Alethi society is structured entirely around that. Everything is kind of about that.
Oh, sure.
This to not as big a degree as he thinks, I think.
Yeah, and we know he's got a chip on his shoulder because of the light eyes, dark eyes thing, but if there is one person here who's strictly about merit and not about eye color, it's Dalinar.
Yeah. And I also like that Dalinar uses this opportunity to kind of give him some feedback also, where he's like, look, I appreciate the like helpful inputs that you've had, but you're walking quite a line between helpfulness and insubordination in the way you treat me and mine. I mean, Kaladin is part of it is probably like they don't expect the captain of the guard to get involved in their larger discussions about politics and strategy. That's not really his place, probably. And so I can see why Dalinar's like, I mean, you're walking a line there. But in addition to that, he's like not real respectful in any way.
Yeah. And again, like he gave Moash that whole drubbing. It's like you got to know the right way to talk to these people. And then here he is just like interjecting himself into conversations with the royal family.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dalinar's heard about like what happened with Adolin and Kaladin in the training grounds. And, Kaladin, a lot of the blame for that goes to Adolin, but I mean, Kaladin went after him. Like, Kaladin is not blameless in what was going on there either. So,
yeah, and Syl told him that. It's like, the Stormlight didn't work because you weren't protecting people. You weren't doing what you were supposed to do. So, like, these chapters are all very much, it's like, all right, Kaladin, your heart's in the right place, but you need to, like, get your head out of your ass.
And Dalinar says, you have a chip on your shoulder the size of a boulder. I ignore it because I know what was done to you, and I can see the soldier underneath. So,
imagine a little chip on his shoulder, just being like, the boulder thinks that Kaladin is the best.
I love that line. A chip on your shoulder the size of a boulder.
It rhymes.
Dalinar out here starting a rap battle.
Oh my gosh, that would be a thing. No, I want that.
Oh God, no. Why would we want that?
And so we end with Dalinar, like he was going to escort Dalinar back to camp, and Dalinar's like, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm going to go and pester the Dowager with my thoughts. He's going to go and like make out with Navani or something. It's fine. And
you can call it what you want, man. We all know what you're up to.
Right. I mean, he told Elhokar, like, I'm courting your mom. Get used to it.
I'm going to pester her all night long.
Gross.
And so on the way back to camp, Kaladin and Syl have a little conversation, and Syl's like, see, he listened. And Kaladin's like, no, he didn't. I told him something he didn't want to hear, and he's going to ignore it. She's like, are you just going to let it go? And he's like, no, I'll find my own justice. And she's like, you're not a skybreaker, Kaladin. You're not supposed to be like this.
That's a cool name.
Right? Yeah. One of the other orders of Knights Radiant, he notes, is what that apparently is, the skybreakers.
Excuse me while I break the sky.
And Syl's like, I'm worried about you. I thought after you left the bridges, things would get better. He's like, it is better. None of my men have been killed. And she's like, yeah, but you are not better. And he gets back to camp, and stew is being made, and he's passing his crew. And then he's like, wait. Who are you? Do I know you? There's a bald, muscular man with skin like an Alethi, but not the right face shape. He's like, is that a Herdazian? And Lopin's like, oh, don't mind Punio. He's my cousin. You had a cousin on the bridge cruise? No, my mom just heard me say that we needed more guards, so he came to help. I got him a uniform and stuff.
Also, his mom? Like, what is his mom doing? Who is his mom?
His mom is out here somewhere.
Yeah, she's just like hanging out. He's like, oh yeah, my mom, like, she's like the head chef. Like, what?
Wait,
It's a Herdazian thing.
I need to know, who's your mum? Like, what's her name? I don't know her name. I just call her Ma.
Yeah. She's not actually my mom, but she might as well be.
Like, does anyone know who this man's mother is? Yeah, it's like this woman we all call Ma. She's just Ma to us all.
What the fuck? This is very confusing. Guys, what happened when I was out there on the storm? Did like some weird stuff start happening?
He's like, wait, are you a soldier, Punio? And he's like, oh yeah, from Bright Lord Royan's army. Don't worry, I swore to Colin now instead for my cousin.
It's like, that's not how it works.
Colin's like, you can't just leave your army. That's desertion.
He's like, nah, it's fine. I do it all the time.
Yeah, Lopin says, we're Herdazian. Nobody can tell us apart anyway.
They barely remember me. It's fine.
Yeah, I leave all the time. I come back. They never notice.
Yeah, Punio says, I leave for the homeland once a year. When I come back, nobody remembers me. So this time I just came here instead.
The Bright Lords are looking at the Herdazians going, they look like clones. Wait a minute, they are clones.
They may share the same DNA, but they have some very important differences in policy.
Nah.
And I like Kaladin's just like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this. Fine. Pretend you were here from the start, okay?
He's just like, oh, God, I do not have the mental capacity right now to deal with this. Cool. Punio, you're in. Whatever.
All right, we're done here.
I love he's like, just pretend you were here from the start. Bridge 4!
Bridge 4.
Cool.
He's like, later on, he's like, someone get me the Herdazian. Which one? The one with one arm? The one with two arms? Oh, right. There's two of them now.
The one called Punio. Who?
There's one arm.
I love that that's the distinction.
It's like, because like he says, they can't tell us apart. It's like, all right, we need the two-armed Herdazian and not the one-armed Herdazian this time.
I get it. I love it. I think it's awesome.
It just makes me think of Earless Jacks. So we should call them both Lopin, and one is one-arm Lopin. And
it's like, I forgot his name. Bring me two-arm Lopin.
That would mess up Lopin's whole thing where he's like, I'm the Lopin, they call me, because nobody else has that name.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's nobody else called Punio, too, so he could probably be the Punio.
I mean, it's a really popular Herdazian name. You don't know.
I guess. I don't know why it would be.
Bring me two-armed Punio.
Bring me Punio with two arms. His arms wide.
They come back with a Herdazian with one arm. I said bring two-arm Punio, not one-arm Lopin. It's like, sir, this is one-arm Punio. Wait, seriously? Where did you come from?
Bridge 4.
Punio.
Bridge 4.
Punio when the walls
They all
fell.
just say Bridge blend in.
It works. So yeah, apparently joining is real easy. Gaz can sign up next, and as long as he goes Bridge 4, it's all good.
Yeah. We got Lopin, his arms wide, and Punio when the walls fell.
Lopin only has one arm, so he can't have his arms wide. I'm sorry.
That's why I said arm.
Oh, I thought you said arms. I'm sorry.
Okay. Turns out Herdazians don't have mothers. They reproduce just like cellular. Is it mitosis where the two cells split apart?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden it's like he's sitting there and like he just subdivides and there are two Lopins instead of one. It's like, oh god, they're spreading.
Do they have like opposite arms? Like one of them
No
has the left,
idea.
one of them has the right. And so Kaladin tries to relax after this, but can't quite start when Shen comes up. And he's like, hey, what's up, Shen? What can I do for you? And Shen says, am I really Bridge 4? Well, yeah, of course you are. Where's my spear? And Kaladin says, what do you think? I think I am not Bridge 4. I am Bridge 4's slave.
Damn, Shen thinking for himself.
And Kaladin does not like it. It was like a punch in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Kaladin kind of sidesteps that. He's like, look, I appreciate your help when we were scavenging. I know that was hard for you. And Shen just kind of keeps waiting. He's like, I can't start arming Parshman. The Light Eyes barely accept us as it is. If I give you a spear, think of the storm it would cause. And Shen just nods. And he's like, a slave I am then. And he leaves.
Bummer.
Ouch. Yeah.
I really like this bit because this is the conversation that Kaladin just had with Dalinar from the other side. All of a sudden, Kaladin is in Dalinar's shoes. It's like, I can't just give you what you want, man. And it completely flies over his head. But yeah, I thought it was a nice little parallel.
Yep. I agree with you. It really is. And he thinks, like, I mean, the guy has a good life for a Parshman. More freedom than any of the other Parshmen. But Kaladin, were you happy as a well-treated slave? Or did you still want freedom? And before he can take more than a couple of bites of food or think about that any further. Natam, one of the guys who've been guarding the palace, comes running up. The king, an assassin, and that's the end of the chapter. Then we start assassin. We could have ended there, wouldn't that? Have
Wow. Nah, that would have been annoying. Because then there was nothing, kind of.
Yeah, it really doesn't come to much. The chapter assassin.
We've gone back to white sand. Suddenly, assassins.
That did happen a lot. Yep.
Yeah.
They had to wait like 3 days or whatever, but 2 days. It was like every
Predictions would have been intense coming out of that, though. We would have got so many predictions, and then the first line is, the king was fine.
The king was fine.
Okay.
There go all of our predictions.
All my hopes and dreams for a
Elgar
story.
died off screen. Like, how crazy would that be?
Yeah,
That would suck.
I mean, would it though? He's not the best. Let's be honest.
I know, but from satisfying story perspective.
Yeah. Well, you want to see like the light go out of his eyes on page, or like what do you want?
I do.
I'm just like, he's an important figure, and I would rather not just like have it all of a sudden. It's like, oh, by the way, he's dead.
We're gonna have like a fuck Elokar button.
I like Elokar. He's a fool, but he's funny.
Yeah, he should be the wit.
Just at the moment that Elokar was about to become an amazing king, the light went out of his eyes.
Yeah.
I still want this Elokar Kaladin buddy comedy.
Yeah.
The two men who couldn't be more different. One, a light-eyed king. Another, a dark-eyed slave. How will these two get along?
Maybe they get abducted by the Parshendi, and it's like Kaladin has to get Elokar out. And it's like, who was the fucking Legend of Korra? Mako was looking after the Earth King Prince.
Oh, right. The Earth King. Mako was looking after Prince. Oh, Prince asshole, whatever his name was.
Yeah, I forget his name. It's in season 4, and he was just a complete doofus, and Mako had to like drag him along everywhere. It's basically that.
Prince Wu was his name.
Yeah. And then he turned out.
He turned out okay in the end.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Elokar gets abducted by the Parshendi. Kaladin's the only one who knows and goes after him, and they're in the heart of the Parshendi camp. Kaladin's trying to get him out, and then like they get confronted by the Parshendi leadership, and Elokar turns out to be actually really good at negotiating, and actually manages to solve the war right there. And Kaladin's like, "What the fuck?"
And just before he solves the war, the light goes out of his eyes.
That was problem with Legend of Korra. Too many happy endings. That one should have died.
You mean like the part where she's in the wheelchair and crippled at the end of season 3?
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It ended happy.
Sorry, I'm going back to this thing. It's like Elokar and Kaladin are in there, and Elokar negotiates the peace, and you think everything's going to be a happy ending, and then like one of them looks at Kaladin and is like, "Wait a minute, you're the guy who wore our bones," and peace goes out the window.
Oh yeah, that could be bad. I thought you were gonna be like, they'd look at Kaladin and they're like, "Wait a second, you're a crustacean from the Plesiozoic era."
I need about tree fitted.
There's actually someone.
Elokar's like, "You wore their what? Their bones. Look, it was a thing. I was just trying to survive."
Kaladin's like, "Oh yeah, I always forget about the bones."
Yeah, the bone armor cartilage.
Someone in our Discord has been watching first Avatar: The Last Airbender and now Legend of Korra for the first time, and like keeping us updated with their progress as they go through. So that's been fun.
Just threw a spoiler out.
I was about to say, yeah, I'm hoping by the time this episode comes out in like a week and a half, they've been making it through pretty quickly, that they will have gotten through that. Because I think they're already on season 2 of Legend of Korra, and they just started it yesterday. So.
Oh, very good.
Anyway, back to the chapter. Looking for that Elokar turns it around somewhere. Not happening yet, though. The epigraph is night form, predicting what will be, the form of shadows, mine to foresee. So night form is let you predict the future. So clearly that's some Voidbringer shit.
Dayman.
Fighter of the Nightman?
Yep. Champion of the sun.
And so yes, the chapter starts with the king was fine. Kaladin ran the whole way back to the palace, which I think we were told in a previous chapter it takes like an hour to walk between the Kholin camp and the palace. And Kaladin ran that shit. And then like up because there's like you have to like climb up this big ramp and then climb the stairs to where the king hangs out at the top. And so he is puffing when he gets up there, stormlight or no stormlight. And he like comes in the doorway. He's like, oh my God, and looks around. Nobody's dead. Nobody's dead. Oh, thank God. Thank the Stormfather. And the king's like, at least he ran. You see, Idrin, that's what a good bodyguard looks like. I bet he wouldn't have let this happen.
I've got to say my first
Nice.
thought was that Elokar just put out a warning to be like, there's an assassin, and just to see who came. I didn't actually think there was. I was like, bloody hell, man, that's not fair. And then when there was actually an attempt on his life, I was like, okay, all right. I spoke too soon. Sorry, Elokar.
That does sound like his style, though, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, well, he faked it in the first book as well.
Exactly.
So you imagine Dalinar's like when he found out about it, just like smacks him upside. He's like stop making up assassins.
Dalinar was nearby, though. He was in the palace still, so it didn't take him long to get here, I guess. And so Moash is here again. He says that he just left when he heard yelling and came back. So the king, after the high storm, had gone out on his balcony, and the railing gave way, and he fell off and was like hanging off the edge. And Kaladin gets out there and like takes a good look, like gets real close to that 100-foot drop onto rocks below. And Moash is like, dude, are you trying to make me panic? What are you doing? And Kaladin's like, I wonder if I could survive that fall. I probably wouldn't test if it was me, but whatever.
Like, dude, I could just run up the wall again.
Yeah, but has he figured out how to do that yet?
I don't know. Terror is a good motivator.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And so one of the bodyguards is here. He's like, Captain, I was here when it happened. I was watching him on the balcony. Just that piece of the railing just fell right out, barely made a sound. Before I knew it, His Majesty was hanging right there, holding on for his life and cursing like a caravan worker. Sir. And Kaladin's like, this shouldn't even be possible. Like, you can tell by looking at it, it looks like they made this balcony of wood and rope and then soul cast it into iron. Like, this should be... It doesn't have seams to come apart at. And then Dalinar sends all the other guards back in because he wants to talk to Kaladin. And Kaladin's immediately like, sir, I should have been... He's like, no, this is not your fault. The king is not under your care, and even if he was, I wouldn't reprimand you for this. Just like I won't reprimand Idrin. I wouldn't expect bodyguards to inspect architecture. And Dalinar's like, you like to take responsibility for things, don't you? I mean, I guess that's a good thing in an officer. Kaladin, he asks what your assessment is, and Kaladin's like, someone definitely chipped at the mortar here and sabotaged the railing. And Dalinar says, yeah, this was a deliberate attempt on the king's life. And Kaladin's like, yeah, but it was a stupid attempt. Like, how could they know the king would lean right here? It could easily have been somebody else, or he could have leaned somewhere else. And the assassins would have exposed themselves for nothing. In fact, that is what happened. The king is alive, and now we know that they were trying to kill him. And so they decide that whoever this is trying to make it look like an accident. It might be the same person who did the armor, which was supposed to get him killed by the Chasm Fiend, and now this. And Kaladin's like, yeah, but they made one mistake. Look at this. What could possibly cut iron this cleanly? And Dalinar's like, that's a shard blade cut. And Kaladin says, yeah, narrows down our suspects a little bit, huh? There's only so many people with shard blades out there. And so Dalinar says, okay, we can't keep the whole thing quiet. The word's already spreading. Keep this part quiet. We'll let them think that we didn't notice it, and maybe it'll help us figure it out. The king's insisting I put you in charge of guarding him. We're going to have to move up that timetable. And Kaladin's like, I am not ready for that. And Dalinar
I don't want to bodyguard that guy.
I mean, he's not nice to his guards.
Yeah.
Nice to Kaladin, though. He loves Kaladin.
Yeah, but watch when Kaladin's the one
right
in charge.
now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dalinar's like, you realize that this must have been done by somebody on the inside. Like, the only way to access this balcony is from the king's chambers. So, somebody who works here, a servant, one of the guards, somebody in here did it. So, I don't know who I can trust. Can I trust you, Kaladin Stormblessed? And Kaladin says, yes, I swear it. He's like, all right. I'm going to relieve Idrin of his post and assign him to command in my army. That'll satisfy the king. And Idrin will probably enjoy it more anyway. And I'll have him give you his best men for now, and you'll gradually swap them out with yours as we go. I don't know what else to do. A man needs to be able to trust his own guards. And Dalinar goes back inside, and he can hear Elokar ranting that nobody takes his safety seriously. Nobody listened. They should have been looking for the things he saw over his shoulder in the mirror, whatever that meant. So, yeah, all right. Do you guys remember the stuff that he sees in the mirror, apparently?
Vaguely.
There was a line in... Now you go back and look for it.
I remember that was when Sadius, and Dalinar were all watching Adolin dueling in the first book.
Because they were just like, I have no idea what to make of what he just said, so...
Yeah, it was the most united Dalinar and Sadius ever were. It was just like, what the fuck is wrong with him?
So let's see. He says, they're talking about the possibility that the Parshendi didn't really send the assassin. And he goes, Elhokar says, it would have been a perfect distraction, pinning the blame on a group of Parshmen. We go to war for years and years, never noticing the real villains, working quietly in my own camp. They watch me, always, waiting. I see their faces in mirrors, symbols, twisted, inhuman. And Dalinar and Sadius look at each other like, what the fuck is he talking about?
So, first of all, Parshman, he's on to something, I guess. Maybe. And weird symbols, I mean, it kind of sounds like pattern. I don't know.
Yeah, we at the time was when Shallan was seeing weird symbol heads in her drawings, and we were like, are these things related? But we do not know for sure. And Kaladin is not impressed by Elhokar. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what it is? It's like he's got the same kind of spren as Patton, but they're just like, you need to tell us the truth. The truth is there is no assassin. True. And that will unlock his spren buddy.
Oh, okay. So now, okay. So Elhokar is going to become a magic power dude also. All right.
Spren buddy.
He says that truth, and he starts to get the magic powers, and then the light leaves his eyes because someone assassinated him. I'm gonna keep doing it. It's gonna happen. You just wait. One of these times, I will get the light leaves his eyes moment.
You know what happens.
Yeah, but if Elhokar is not yet dead in the books, then it still works just as well.
If
yeah, I mean, all these people could be dead for all you guys know.
Yeah.
If is good.
And Kaladin is not impressed by the ranting. He says Elhokar sounds like the whining of a spoiled child. Wasn't a king supposed to be better than that? Like, would Dalinar react this way under pressure? And then he thinks to himself, like, it's not your job to judge them, it's just your job to protect them somehow. And then we get to our last chapter for the section. Tin, decay form is the epigraph, destroys the souls of dreams. A form of the gods to avoid it seems. Seek not its touch, nor beckon its screams. Deny it. That sounds creepy.
Sure.
Decay form, not my favorite one so far, gotta say.
I mean, it sounds pretty awful. Decay form?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
And this one, I didn't note it, but for the last two, we switched songs again. This is the listener song of Secrets now.
How many of these songs are there?
Right? They're singing all sorts of crazy shit. And we start with Gaz, who is installing a window in Shallan's wagon. And he's explained to her, like, most of us joined to fight on the Shattered Plains for revenge, you know? Those marbles killed the king. That's a new racial slur for the Parshendi I don't think we've heard.
No, I was gonna say it's that makes sense that they would have one, but it's, I don't want to say it's nice to see it, but it is interesting to see it.
Does that mean that they have, like, marbles like the game that we have? Or is it just that the Parshendi skin is marbled, so they call it they're calling them that?
I'm going to guess the latter.
And another one of the soldiers or the deserters is here, Red. He's chatting with the two of them. He's like, yeah, I remember at the call to arms from the High Prince, every second man of age joined the cause. People wondered if you were a coward if you went to the pub for a drink and didn't have a recruit's patch. But everything changed. I joined up with 5 of my buddies. They're all dead now, rotting in those storm-cursed chasms. And she's like, so did you guys just get tired of it or what? And they're like, no, I mean, we got tired of what they're doing. Like, it's not about fighting to win. It's not about fighting for revenge. They're just fighting for money to get the chasm, to get the gem hearts. Like, no one cares if we make progress towards defeating the Parshendi as long as they're getting rich. And screw that.
Fair point.
No, I don't blame them.
But I think we ourselves have called that out before. It's like, what the fuck are you guys even doing here?
Yeah. And Red's like, Gaz, be honest. Don't you owe some spheres to the debt mongers too? And Gaz's like, hey, that's my old life. Ain't nothing about the old life matters anymore. Brighton and Shallan said our debts would be taken care of. And she says, everything will be forgiven. Except your breath. Which, he's embarrassed for a moment. He blushes, and then they kind of laugh at it, and it's all good. And Gaz has installed a window in the side of the wagon, and Red's like, hey, that's not bad. Why didn't you tell us you trained as a carpenter? And Gaz's like, nah, I spent a bunch of time around lumber yards, and you pick up a few things. I mean, he did. We saw that. And then here comes...
don't know, like, where he came from. Like, how close are these guys?
I mean, Red says, like, you told us you were one step from becoming a bridgeman when you left. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess they know a little bit. They may not have known that, like, the bridge crews worked out of the lumberyard or whatever, so.
Fair enough.
But this is where Ivatha comes up. He's like, you didn't offer to make me things like that, Gaz. Seems like you love sucking up to the light eyes, huh? And Shalon has to jump in. She's like, I mean, you didn't have a wagon? What do you want him to put a window in your head? We can probably arrange it. And Shalon's like, he's like, did you tell her about your debt? And Shalon's like, no, these men will be heroes for rescuing me. And he's like, no, they're never going to be heroes. They're creme, pure and simple. And Shalon's like, why are you trying so hard to beat them down? Are you that afraid of being wrong? One would think you'd be used to it by now. Be careful, girl. You wouldn't want to accidentally insult a man. And she's like, insult you by accident? No, that is the last thing I'd want. To think I couldn't manage it on purpose. And then when he doesn't have an instant comeback, she's like, not surprised you're at a loss for words. That probably happens a lot when somebody asks you a tough question like, what's the color of your shirt? She's just laying into him, and it's hilarious. If you like the
she's
Shalon
really not letting up.
She's not. I mean, he doesn't deserve to let up. Although, do you want to make him more of an enemy?
Well, that's more where I was going. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but like, this guy could turn on you very, very quickly.
Yeah, it comes a point where the voice in his head or on the back of his jacket isn't going to dissuade him anymore.
Yep, you are probably correct. So after Vatha wanders away, Red's like, you have quite the clever tongue on you, Brightness. She's like, I've never had someone's tongue on me. I'd hazard that to consider an unpleasant experience. And Gaz is like, it's not so bad. And they both look at him. He's like, what? I'm just saying, it's not.
Not so bad. Tongues are all right.
And so when they leave her alone, she's sitting here thinking about all the different stuff. Like, the Soul Caster is now on the bottom of the ocean, so she can't use that to get the Ghost Bloods off her brothers anymore, even if it could have been fixed. She's got to make this betrothal work. Although without Yasna, she's no longer, like, as Yasna's ward. With Yasna there to argue for her, she had a certain, like, cachet. She doesn't really have that going for her anymore, so... But she also needs to convince them about the Voidbringers and find Urithiru. And she starts going through her notes on the Alethi court. Who might she be able to get on her side? Well, maybe Sadius. The notebook shows that he's conniving and dangerous, but that both he and his wife are sharp of wit.
Not them.
Aladar was another one that Yasna respected. Hatham was a man of delicate politics and careful planning. Yasna did not think much of Thanadal, Bethab, or Sabariel. The first she called oily, the second a dullard, and the third outrageously rude. So we got some interesting high princes that I don't think we've really met, at least not much of yet.
So I think I remember Thanadal's name, but the other two, I'm like, I don't remember you guys. And like, Savariel at least sounds like we probably should remember him if we met him.
Right, yeah. If it was somebody outrageously rude, you'd think you'd remember that one.
Yeah.
Aladar we met not that long ago when Dalinar was on a plateau run with him and tried to convince him, like, what can I do to get you to, like, come over to my side, basically.
I remember him because of the dinosaur thing.
Yeah, there you go. And Gaz wanders back by and she's like, wait, hold on, how bad are your debts exactly? And Gaz is like, well, one of the guys I owed was executed, so that's okay. But there's more. 80
thanks
ruby
to Kaladin.
broams. Yeah, thanks to Kaladin, exactly. They might not take them anymore. It's my head they want these days. And she's like, wow, that's a lot. And he's like, just turn me over to them. Ain't no matter. I'd rather that than out here wondering when they'll find me anyway. Gaz is he sounds kind of at the end of his rope, and you can maybe understand why he's gripping onto this idea that Shalon has presented so readily when he's just like, I don't want to live like this anymore.
Oh no. Anyway.
So Shalon goes back to reading about Urithiru, and she still thinks it might be on the Shattered Plains. Yasna said that it's not, and she's annoyed by the history books, and Patter's like, hey, what's wrong? And she goes, historians are a bunch of liars. And Patter's like, And she goes, that wasn't a compliment. He's, oh, okay. She's mad because these scholars didn't record facts. They wrote their opinions and presented them as truth. And he's like, truth is like, basically, truth is a matter of perspective, is how he puts it. Truth is in the eye of the beholder. And she's like, no, truth is that there's one truth. And they have a discussion about it. Like, a table's a table, right? And he's like, well, I mean, it depends on the perspective of the table.
If you ask Sadius, a table is a place to put a sword.
It's true. Yeah.
This reminded me of like the Emperor's Soul like stuff, and then like also how her particular brand of magic for soul casting involves her convincing the object that it should be something else. Like it's very, very. It felt connected to me, but
I agree. It does seem similar. It's like, well, and there was the thing with soul stamping in the Emperor's Soul. If it wasn't close enough to what it really was, you couldn't use the stamp. It's like if you were too far away from what it actually was or what it wanted to be, then the stamp wouldn't work. You couldn't convince it to become this new thing. So, but she also noted back then, it's like it was easier to convince it to do an improvement. Like, what wall wouldn't want to have a pretty picture painted on it instead of just being plain? So that does speak to maybe like trying to convince the stick to become fire. If you're trying to convince the stick to become something nicer, maybe it would have been easy.
Yeah, like turn it into a tree or something. I don't know.
She asked Pattern, if people weren't here, would Spren have thought? And Pattern says, not in this realm. I don't know about the other realm. She said, you don't sound concerned. Your entire existence might be dependent on people. He's like, well, yeah, children are dependent on their parents. What does that have to do with it? Besides, there are others who think, and she says, the Voidbringers. And he says, yes, I do not think that my kind would live in a world with only them. They have their own Spren. And she goes, wait, their own Spren? And he's like, oh, we don't speak of this.
Bum, bum, bum.
And her response is, well, you might want to start because it's important.
Yeah, it's like, you can't just throw that out there and then back off, man.
It's like, I need to know, so like, can you tell me about it, or?
Spren are...
Also, we don't speak of this. You just did.
You just exactly, right?
You brought it up.
He says, Spren are power, shattered power, power given thought by the perceptions of men, honor, cultivation, and another. Fragments broken off.
Sounds like we're learning about our shards.
And she's like, who's the other one? And he says, odium. And she's making notes on all this. She's like, odium, hatred, a type of Spren, maybe like a big one, like Kusisesh from Eerie, which, if I remember right, that's the one, the giant weird water face one that Axes the Collector was going to check out. Or the Night Watcher.
I'm sorry, the Night Watcher is a Spren?
That's what Shallan says anyway.
Yeah, it's almost like, I feel like sometimes the way they equate Spren in this world is almost like Fae.
That's
like
a good way of putting it, yeah.
That's the vibe it gets me anyway.
I mean, in this world, either you're people, you're a crab, or you're a Spren.
Yeah,
gotta so fit in category.
We got people, crabs, and Spren. So we got fairies, crabs, and people. Crab people.
Crab.
The crab people are obviously the Parshendi.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the race of Zoidbergs.
Oh man, that would have been I was gonna say that would be a different sort of war, but we saw what happens when you piss off the Decapodians.
Yeah, right. They conquered Earth in like 10 minutes.
Yep.
The voiceover for the book for all of the Parshendi, they're like Jewish Zoidberg voices.
It's like when Shen finally gets fed up with Callan, it's like, I challenge you to claw pluck.
One of the forms just has like giant claws.
Yeah. I forget, disembowelment in your people, fatal?
Yeah, fatal.
A large bet on myself.
One of Shallan's new slaves comes up and is like, hey, the other lady she asked me to tell you, and Shallan's like, she wants me to visit her? And he's like, yeah, for food, I guess. And so this is when we go and meet up with Tin at her tent. And Tin says, I order my people to keep the perimeter clear. We can speak freely. So you can tell me who you really are. And Shallan's like, what does that mean? I'm Shallan Devar. I said that. And Tin's like, uh-huh. And I have a span read. It's connected to one of these information houses. So I had my contact look into House Devar. Large debts, erratic house leader who may or may not still be alive. And he does have a daughter, Shallan, who nobody seems to have met. And Shallan's like, well, that's me. So nobody is a bit of a stretch. He's like, so why would an unknown scion of a minor Veden house be out here telling people she's expected on the Shattered Plains and that her rescue will be celebrated? Yeah, no, this doesn't seem logical.
I guess, to me, what does Shallan lose by telling her, no, that really is me. I don't know what you were expecting, but, that's me.
I mean, that's what Shallan does tell her at first. Just Tin doesn't believe it. She's like, oh, no, it's okay. You can tell me what you're actually doing. I've discarded most of my annoyance with you and decided to be impressed instead. You're new to this, but talented. And Shallan's like, new to what? The art of the con, of course. The grand act of pretending to be someone you aren't. So I think And this is the point where Shalon's like, I guess I'm going to go with it because she won't believe that I am who I actually am. And so Tin thinks that she's pretending to be someone above her station and trying to get a payoff out of it. And she tells Shalon, you're in over your head. And Shalon's like, well, I am that, yeah. And Tin's like, well, I want in on whatever you got going. This can't be a small con, so you probably don't have the experience to pull it off by yourself. And Shalon taps her finger on the table and thinks, who am I going to be for this woman? Who do I need to be to make this work? She seems like a master con artist. I can't fool someone like that, except that she already had, accidentally. I don't know if it counts as fooling her that you were claiming to be yourself and she didn't believe it, but whatever. And so Shalon basically gets her, like, hints that she's got something going on the Shattered Plains, something to do with Dalinar Kholin. And Tin thinks that it's like blackmail. And Shalon's like, yes, I know what I know is going to be very important to him. I mean, she's coming to report Yasna's death, but Tin thinks that it's some sort of blackmail secret. And she's like, oh, what's the secret? And Shalon's like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you that. And Tin says, okay, I understand, and you'll be glad you brought me on. You are bringing me on, right? And Shalon goes, yeah, I do believe I could learn some things from you. And that's the end of our chapter. So,
yeah, what a chapter.
Yeah, it's took an interesting turn. I don't know that anyone was expecting a con artist to take Shalon under her wing in this section. But let's move into predicaments. I will give you guys we're going to do 4 chapters for next time, so I'll give you those names here. And you can incorporate that into your what is going to happen next, where are we going, what are we doing. Chapters 25 through 28 is what we're reading next. Chapter 25 is called Monsters. If you guys manage to correctly guess what the monsters are, I will be inordinately impressed. Chapter 26 is called The Feather. Chapter 27 is called Fabrications to Distract. And chapter 28 is called Boots. And I will say that there in these 4 chapters, there is a one of the fan favorite moments of the book happens somewhere in there. So we'll see if you guys what you guys think, if you can spot it when we get to next week.
Is it weird that you say one of them is called the Feather? And my thought is like, wait, are there birds on this planet?
Good. Yeah, I mean, we know there's chickens. They've talked about eating chicken.
Yeah, but they're all over in Shin, aren't they? Oh,
that's where they start, at least.
Like, yeah, they get traded. All right, never mind.
Monsters. I mean, I think I saw, because I always just scroll over, so I think it's a Kaladin chapter based on like the little front thing, the covery thing. But I don't know. I have no idea. So if it's Kaladin based, I assume it's going to be with them on the Shattered Plains. Probably more Dalinar stuff, more Kaladin stuff. Maybe Dalinar does something about Amaram, and Amaram's like, and then he's the monsters. But you said we wouldn't know what the monsters are, so I don't know. That's a weird one. So yeah, that's all I got on monsters. I can't really think of what else that could be in reference to. The Feather. I mean, it's about birds. I don't know. These are not helpful chapter titles. I mean,
are they ever super helpful? I mean,
I guess not. But I mean, I guess with like fabrications to distract, that makes me think of like maybe Navani. Maybe it's like a Navani heavy.
Fabrial thing.
Yeah, like something that has to do with creating some kind of object or device. And then again, like the next one, boots. It's like, I don't know, dude. Maybe Shalon finally gets some boots because she needs some shoes. Has she gotten shoes yet? I feel like they said they were going to give her clothes.
They did say they were going to give her clothes. They didn't specify yet that she has new shoes.
Yeah, so maybe boots is better. New boots. You know, that'd be fun, I guess. Girls like boots. Sure.
We have a whole chapter where she's like, finally got myself some boots.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like a nice pair of shoes?
Yeah.
You know? As for where we're going overall, I mean, I feel like the Kaladin Amaram thing has to come to a head eventually. I think we've discussed that before. Maybe it's a bookender, maybe it's not. Shalon keeps going from like one weird situation to the next. Like she's on a boat, the boat disappears, she gets found by the slaver dude, and then she like enchants some guys, and now she's like kind of under the wing of a con artist. Like it's all over the place with her. So like, is she gonna make the Shattered Plains, or is she gonna go off and do some other adventure thing? I mean, we know that eventually they find out on the Shattered Plains about Yasna. So does that come from Shallan? Does it come from somebody else? I don't know. And I mean, that's really all I have. I mean, we've talked some about other pieces, but until we get like more story progression, because I feel like our story really hasn't progressed that far, and we're over a quarter of the way into the book. It's like we're finding out good stuff. Like we're finding out information about Spren, about powers, about about the shards whose powers have manifested on this planet. It's interesting to me that at least this Spren pattern is cognizant of their names. And so that's interesting to me that they're so well known that their names are known by him. Well, I say him. I don't know that pattern is a male, but or it may have.
I think we've established that it's like they refer to him as him, and he's okay with it. So.
Yeah. So there's definitely some interesting information that we're getting, but we're not getting a lot of, I feel like, story progression from A to B. We're getting a lot of Shallan story progression because she started on a boat. Well, she started in Kharbranth, and then she started on a boat, and then she's been going all around. But I feel like on the Shattered Plains itself, it's like we've had duels, we've had tension between characters over race and like station and things like that, and that's pretty much it. We haven't had a lot other than that. So I'm not sure what's next.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about the story progression. Although I feel like Kaladin he's not moving anywhere, not like Shallan is. Shallan is covering geography, right? But Kaladin is developing in his like new job. I mean, he's now going to become the head guard for the king. He's making some steps.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but at the same time, it's like it's one of those things where, by virtue of the fact that Kaladin believes that everything that he's done so far can be taken from him at any time, it's almost like we're stuck in this weird place of like, we don't know what's going to happen. Kaladin doesn't know what's going to happen. And we're kind of like, even though he's learning to do this job and things, it feels like we're not going anywhere. Like nothing is changing. We're just kind of stuck in this anxious zone of like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, he's waiting for the other shoe to drop in a lot of ways. That's fair.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This is Shallan's book, so maybe it makes more sense that she seems to be making more progress. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I don't have a huge amount today. Those chapter titles, honestly, no idea. Even if we thought we had an idea, probably not right anyway. I think, I guess off the back of what Joe said, I think Shallan will make it to the Shattered Plains and soon. I don't think she's going to get too distracted. She does seem to be kind of the position of authority at the moment, and like where she wants to go is kind of where they'll go. Tin could have been distraction, but I think that they will still move in Shallan's direction rather than hers. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing remains to be seen, but we'll see what that looks like. Kaladin and Amaram may just stay sort of undertones at the moment. I think we've got to see, because we've seen Amaram in that he was there, but we haven't actually been part of, I think, conversations or anything with him yet. Like even from Dalinar's perspective, I don't think we've seen Amaram in that light that I can remember yet. And I think maybe that's a discussion that needs to be had before we see a resolution to Kaladin's situation. I feel like Amaram will do something or say something that will then like shatter the illusion Dalinar has of him. Because by the sounds of it, most of the time Amaram was fairly decent, but he then saw something that he wanted and he had to figure out how he was going to do that without destroying the illusion that he's built. So I think it's going to take some convincing, but Kaladin is in a place with Dalinar now that I think Dalinar will give it a red hot go of investigating and trying to get to the bottom of it, because if he wants Amaram on his side, he doesn't need stuff like this following him.
No, that's true.
So it's kind of in his best interest to do something about that as well. The assassin, I've got no idea where, like, who we're even looking at. I don't think we got any closer to, I mean, we know that Elhokar was kind of setting things up, but I don't think we got any closer to sort of having a look at who potentially could be after him in one way or another, or if it is just his paranoia. But obviously someone's coming. Maybe it's just a huge setup by Ellicott. You never know. Ellicott's scratching on the walls and being like, "Is how many days until something comes?" But in terms of who in the camp would be after the king, are they even after the king? Like, yeah, they know Ellicott wants to go out there, but also are they setting someone else up? Like, is this a big ruse to, well, set a shard bearer up, really? Like, obviously a shard blade, well, they're saying that a shard blade has cut it, but so what shard bearers are inside? Well, you've got the king, so probably not going to, cut his own balcony to fall to his doom. But you've got Dalinar and Adolin in there, and Dalinar and Adolin have made some pretty big enemies in recent times. So to have, like, to frame them again, like, I know we kind of went through that story already with Dalinar being possibly framed, but we haven't been through it with Adolin. So they could, like, it could be an attack more on the Colin family than it is on the king. The king is kind of just collateral damage along the way. Because I just don't know who would actually be after the king at this point. Maybe more will come to light. I don't know. We've had a few names dropped as well, with Shallan going through Yasna's book. So obviously Sadeas we know, but there's a few other names that, like, we've heard, but some we haven't heard. So between that and then Adolin's seeking out shard bearers in each of the camps, maybe we'll see a bit more of those. And, Shallan's talking about allies, but she's about to, well, in theory, she's on her way to unite with a house that no one wants to ally with. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out too. Yeah, mostly thoughts today. Not so much big predictions or small predictions, really. Probably no predictions. The book titles, yeah, I honestly have got no idea.
Fair enough. I like that point about Shallan's trying to figure out who they can ally with, and when she gets there, if she's on Dalinar's side, the answer may be nobody.
Yeah.
Or maybe Shallan will bring something new to the mix and, shake things up.
They'll love her and be like, okay, all right, I'm swayed. I'll align my house with yours. That, or they'll all love Shallan, and then Shallan will be queen.
Ooh. Maybe she'll use her she'll use her magic powers to make them see something that's not there or something.
Exactly. Oh, potentially, yeah.
Also, I would point out, you mentioned we had Dalinar and Adolin in there, who are shard bearers and could potentially have done it. Renarin also in there and now a shard bearer. So,
true. Yes, I forgot about Renarin.
Not that I'm being like Renarin is the secret bad guy, but he's a candidate.
Yeah, I mean, and by equal measure, you've got the shard blades that the king lends out to people to borrow. Like, anyone could have got one, so it's not like it would have to be one of the characters that we know.
Sure.
And I don't think for a second that it's actually Adolin or Renarin or Dalinar who did it, but it would be easy to frame it that way.
If you went and took one of the king's shard blades, like, the people who borrow them can't dismiss and summon them, because only the person bonded to it, the king, is the only one who can do that. So to use one of those, you'd have to walk in carrying a 6-foot long sword. Somebody might have noticed that.
You'd think so.
Also, I have to say, I like how quickly pretty much all three of you are like, whatever is going on with this tin lady, it's bad news. I think when I got to this chapter for the first time, I was just like, wait, Shallan's gonna learn how to be a con artist? This is awesome. I want to see where this goes. So it's interesting.
We don't trust anyone now. You get a newcomer and it's like, who are you? What do you want? Why are you in this story? What's your purpose?
Yeah. Well, and also, like, I don't know why you would want your main character to learn how to be a con artist. That's kind of messed up, Data.
Because it's interesting.
I guess.
All con artists, like, they always wind up being conned by the con artist.
Right. There's always a double cross, a crisscross.
Yeah.
There's always an Ocean's 11.
Yeah. What's that? What was that movie with Steve Martin and the other guy where they're con artists?
Oh, the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is that movie.
Yeah.
I remember you had that on DVD, and then mom sold it or gave it away or something.
Yeah, she let somebody quote unquote borrow it, and I lost my entire movie collection.
Yes, all of your DVDs she let somebody borrow, and they never brought them back. Yep.
Oh my God, I would have killed someone.
Yeah, it was not a great time.
Yeah. But decent movie. My favorite con movie though, The Brothers Bloom. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I don't know where things are going for the next few chapters. Was it monsters? And if we guess what the monsters were, then you'd be very surprised.
I will be very impressed if you guess what the monsters are. I guess I will give you one hint. Remember, this is a Brandon Sanderson book.
Is this a humans are the real monsters deal? Because like I've had enough of those recently.
Humans are the real monsters.
So I liked one of my favorite kinds of movies to watch is like creature features, animal attacks, or like horror movies where it's like some sort of weird monster attacking them. I love that sort of thing. And I am so fucking sick of like the big twist being they knock the mask off and it's a person.
So it's
God,
Scooby-Doo. Got it.
God, I hate when that happens. I've seen that too much lately and I'm sick of it. So if like you get some big monstrous chasm fiend rising out of the cracks and like they knock the mask off and it's just a big dude working a robot or something, like I'm a bit pissed.
It's 5 guys standing on each other's shoulders being a chasm fiend.
Yeah. Well, what does Brandon think is a monster? Or is there something he doesn't like? Because he said, remember, it's a Brandon
Horses.
Sanderson book. Horses?
I mean, yeah, horses. Maybe
Yeah.
they get attacked by horse monsters.
Horse monsters? Or just horses, because all they know are crabs, right? Did they talk about horses in this?
They ride horses. in
Horses
battle.
have been around a couple of times. Yeah,
Dal-
we've been told that
Dalinar's-
they're like
Radiance.
ridiculously expensive.
Would
Yeah.
Kaladin and folk have seen a horse? Well, I guess Kaladin saw a horse. Yeah, that one guy was riding a horse in that battle where he killed the Shardblade guy.
A guy on a horse killed his brother, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horse.
And like Dalinar has a horse,
Oh.
and so does Adolin. They got the big.
Oh, that's right. They got
Like-
the
like-
weird, like
Jamie
fancy,
said.
super smart horse.
Yeah. Maybe the Rashadiums rebel. Maybe fucking Yasna was wrong, and the Voidbringers were actually the horses all along.
It was the horse all along.
It's like everyone's focused on the crabs, and the rise of the planet of the horse is coming.
Yeah, that's when you know Brandon's jumped the shark, right? Like if we're reading a book and then like the bad guy is like horses.
That's what's really behind everything. ODM is
Yeah.
a horse.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
he's like a galactic horse.
It's like Caligula who made his horse the proconsul or whatever.
Sure,
Yeah.
it's the only one he could trust.
Yeah, all right. The monsters are horses. Done. What's the other chapter names again?
The second one is The Feather.
Oh, that's right. Okay, maybe the bird monsters. No, Pegasi, like winged horses. Those are the monsters. There we go. And someone steals a feather from one of them.
All right, fair enough.
What am I talking about?
Yeah, it's like the monsters are actually regular bears, not platypus bears, not like owl
Yeah.
bears,
Not
regular
crab
bears, not crab bear, regular bear.
The third one is Fabrications to Distract.
Got nothing.
All right,
No, sorry. Continue.
and the fourth one is Boots.
Boots. Yeah, I think I like Joe's idea that it's like, Shallan doesn't have any shoes and she's been needing shoes for a while, so maybe she cons the con artist out of some shoes. And the con artist's like, you're learning.
As a reward, here are some shoes.
Yeah. I don't
I've
know.
got it for Boots.
Shoot.
What?
Adelin's found a new magazine to look through.
Yeah.
I was looking at boots and not
There you go.
outfits.
Yeah.
I like Dak's idea. It's like she can't get boots. Like her new con artist teacher is like, you don't deserve boots until you can con someone out of them. That's how you earn your boots.
No, I really don't have much at this point for what's going to happen next. Like I've had a couple of big predictions, like with the Everstorm and. Oh, Joe, you weren't here last week. I predicted that the Swordmaster dude is not a Rosharan. I think he's from Offworld.
Oh, that'd be pretty sweet.
Zahel. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know where he's
Yeah.
from. I don't know if he's someone we've met before or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure he's not of this world.
Yeah, the question is, does he use a meteorite sword?
He uses a shard blade. Well, a borrowed shard blade.
But yeah, I don't know what's coming up next week. I'll just wait and see.
That would be unexpected if fucking Sokka pops up in the Cosmere. Jeez.
Yeah, I think Zahil is like, because we know Brandon Sanderson is a fan of Final Fantasy X. I think Zahil's like his Orin character. He's like
yeah.
a warrior monk, bladesman. You know, it fits because that's what Orin was. That's true.
Was he I haven't played any Final Fantasy, but was he the one in Kingdom Hearts 2 who teamed up with Hades?
Yes.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. I remember
brainwashed
that.
by Hades or whatever. He looks younger in Kingdom Hearts than he does in Final Fantasy X. But yeah.
Yeah. Final Fantasy X, he's like
a grizzled older dude.
Yeah.
Also, he's
like,
dead. Spoiler. But...
He's like the age of the main character's dads, so he's supposed to be older. But yes, he's also a zombie. Spoiler.
A lot of zombies in that game. Yeah.
For a game that came out 24 years ago. Spoiler. 23 years ago.
Good times. Good times. I've completely lost track of what Dak was saying because we took that side trip.
I'm just like I got nothing. That's my thing.
He was saying Zahel was from another world, possibly based on the weird idiom he uses, where he's like, "I don't like repeating myself. It makes me eat the wrong flour." And everyone looks at each other, like Kaladin and Renner, and like, "What does that mean?"
It's a weird kung fu thing.
So yeah, okay.
Eat the wrong flour. He's like, I eat one of those rock flowers and it hurts my teeth.
Dak says the monsters are horses. If that's the case, then he wins 10 podcast points on the next episode.
10 podcast.
What do I do with those?
The points don't matter. It's like, whose line is it anyway? Don't listen to them.
We've never had podcast points before, and we probably never will again. This is the one time.
If you accumulate 1,026 podcast points, you get to learn of a plot development before it happens.
No, if Dak wins, he gets to do the intro for the next episode. So Dak, if you see horses show up in that next chapter, be ready to do the intro.
Why do I need points for that? You give it away for free at the start of every episode.
Oh. No, you're the big winner. That's the only way that you get to do it is if you win the contest.
This is Dana's way of telling us, all right, what do you guys need to do the intro more often?
We are now 29% of the way through this book. And we've only got 2 episodes. The next 2 episodes will be in part 2. The third episode out from now. The first couple chapters are part 2, and then we're gonna do all the interludes in between. So we're coming up on the end of part 2, is what I'm trying to communicate as we approach the. We're next time we'll probably pass the 1/3 mark of this book. So we're trucking.
Let's fucking go.
For now. We have a new email. We have a patron that was new last time, but we didn't do because Joe was not here. And I think the email has a review attached. So Joe, get your review and new patron tools ready while I read this first email that got sent, or the one email that got sent to us. This one is from, this person says to call them Simon. So that's what we're going to go with. The name is actually spelled Szymon, but it says, finally writing an email. Hey, Dak, Data, Jamie, and Joe. Before I even start the actual email, Data, I'm letting you know you can just call me Simon since I'm where my actual name is unpronounceable in English. I'm from Poland. Okay, good to know that there's just no way I was going to get it. Appreciate it. It says, I've recently realized that around July is my 3rd anniversary of listening to your amazing podcast and figure that that's the motivation I need to finally write an email. Since I started listening to y'all, I got through multiple jobs. They were not good. The process of moving out of my parents' house and a lot of mental health struggles. But the knowledge that every Monday I get to relax and listen to some extremely funny and insightful people ramble about the Cosmere, and also very non-Cosmere tangents, really helped me through all of that. Well, almost every Monday. But it's completely understandable you all can't always have a new episode ready to go, even though I wish it were so. I don't want to start rambling here because I'm well aware once I start doing it, I will never click the send button. So I'll just wish you all the best and thank you for creating amazing content. Love, Simon. P.S. I will never forgive Joe for making me think of the sexy drifter from Destiny whenever Hoyd shows up. Well, sorry, the drifter and then in parentheses, sexy from Destiny.
Yeah. No, you know what's funny about that? I play Destiny and my friends think I do have a really good drifter voice, so let me hit you with that and then you can have even more uncomfortable thoughts about it. So you go, the drifter, he hosts a game called Gambit in Destiny, and he'd say things like in the game you got to deposit motes and you get rewards like the more motes you deposit, you get closer to the end game of the game type. So this is something you would regularly hear the drifter say, and hopefully this is close to the voice he would say it in. So you'd gain a bunch of motes and you have to deposit them into a bank, and he'd be like, give me those motes and I'll make you rich, brother, I promise. He'd say something like that. Or he'd say, like, there's other things he likes to say. He likes to say a lot of weird stuff, basically. But the Drifter is a fun character. Not who I was thinking of when I was thinking of the sexy Drifter. I was just thinking of a guy who is sexy and a Drifter.
Your impression of him gives me kind of like Jake the Snake vibes or something.
Yeah, he's kind of got a Jake the Snake vibe. He's just like, he's wild. He's just like, Nefertiti messed up my bar. The darkness was wild times. He says weird stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and then that voice actor that plays him will do cameos as the Drifter. I think one of my favorite ones I saw online. He's like, you got to get rid of that yee haircut if you want to get some bitches on your barrel.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff he'll say.
It's funny because for all we know, Simon is playing like a Polish language version, and the Drifter may sound nothing.
Oh,
like
that's
the Drifter
true.
I didn't
think about that.
So
Although
let us know,
listening to
Simon.
it, says, yeah, if the Polish version of the Drifter sounds nothing like what I'm doing, then this is no good. This is not a good frame of reference for you. But
or if the English version sounds nothing like what Joe's doing, you guys can let us know that too. Just call him out.
That's true. If it doesn't sound anything like it, my friends say I'm pretty good, but they are my friends.
Yeah, exactly. And then Simon left us a 5-star Spotify review and sent the screenshot. So.
Oh, Simon, what a riotous review you had. You're a rioter, my friend.
There you go. Thank you, Simon. That was a great email.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to send us an email or your screenshot of your 5-star Spotify review, you can find us at thesanderlanch@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, Patreon, which is where we're going next. I've been uploading my reactions to reading Dragon Steel Prime for the first time, and I've just edited and scheduled a couple more. I've finished up through chapter 13 now, I think, and that's it's a decent way through that book. Honestly, it's like I gotta look real quick. I'm about actually the same amount, 31% through there, and we're 29% through our current book. So about the same amount that we are through Words of Radiance on Dragon Steel Prime. Some people on the Discord mentioned that because I think next week, at least as of this recording, is when Brandon's going to start releasing preview chapters of Wind and Truth. Sorry, it took me a second to remember Stormlight 5's name. Wind and Truth. I'll have to look up to see if I'm right about when those start. But somebody suggested that I could read those and react for before the Sanderlanch content on the podcast, and I'm considering that. If anybody else is interested in that, then feel free to let me know with comments, emails, what have you, and I might do that. I'm debating how good an idea it is. Last time, before Rhythm of War came out, Brandon released like a chapter a week until all of part 1 of the book was out or was released online for people to read leading up to the book release. So that's a lot of potential chapters if he does the same thing again. And I mean, really, you can count how many chapters are going to be in part 1 by when he starts releasing them and count up to when the book comes out. And you're like, okay, well, there's how many chapters if he does the same thing again. So yeah, something I might start doing to coincide with my reading of Dragon Steel Prime if you guys are interested. But we had one new patron last week that we did not do since Joe wasn't here. A new Ska level backer is Lexi.
You're what is it called, a crasher?
I think the crasher is the combination of the two powers that Wax
I can't give you the 2 powers. So you store did I do store? I feel like I did store weight recently, but
I
you
think
know
you
what?
did that
Forget
recently,
it.
Yeah.
Forget it. Your store weight. It's fine.
There you go.
More than
Congrats,
one person
Lexi.
could store weight in a back-to-back manner.
What is that one called? Hold on. It's a ferrochemist who can make themselves lighter. Is called a skimmer. That's what it is.
Skimmer. There you go.
So there you go. If anyone wants to get a faring power assigned, you can join our Patreon. Check out that content I was talking about. If you want to get an allomancy power, you can leave us a review. A 5-star review on Apple's podcast I can usually find on my own. But if you leave us one on like Spotify or something, you may have to send the screenshot like we talked about. So anything else you guys want to bring up before we end?
Yeah, I'll throw out. By the time this episode airs, it will have been out for a couple of weeks. But tonight, the second of the 2 episodes that I wrote for X-Men, the audio drama, is coming out.
Nice.
So if you look us up on Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts, really. Yeah, Mutant Massacre Part 2 is coming out, and I'm really happy with both. Stay after the credits.
Did you act in them as well as write them?
I did not. There was one part I auditioned for that I did not get, but hearing the dude who got it, I'm just like, yep, fair enough.
That's always a good play. You're like, oh, he does a good job. All right, I get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, you were saying.
congrats on having your writing out there in podcast or audio drama form now.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. I also am still. I've been having a lot of personal things going on in my life for the last few months. So even though like I was telling people on the podcast, hey, come check me out on Twitch, I haven't been on in a while. I'm gonna try to get back to that soon. So if you're hearing this, maybe I've already been back and there's maybe a library of videos for you to watch. But I'm hoping to get back to that shortly because one of my favorite games of all time, second part came out, and I just haven't had time to record and play it, unfortunately. But I'm
Just
hoping to
that.
get back to that. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, there you go. We got some people doing some stuff. Jamie, do you want to plug something while we're in the plugging?
Nah.
Jamie's like, nah.
I work and I toddler mom.
If you want to see Jamie being a toddler mom, good luck with that, I guess.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah, don't try to do that. Actually, now that I said that, that's super creepy. Let's not.
Yeah.
All right. If you're following along, we're doing 4 chapters for next time. Chapters 25 through 28. I read the titles. You guys were here. You remember. Music by Miracle of Sound and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo? P.S. Fashion. Crab at thee.
Amnesia, you forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. But you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.